Hey now, welcome back to the Deadology Podcast from Pencil Hill Studio, New Paltz, New York. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. This is Season 3, Episode 13 of the podcast. Tonight, July 28th, 2025, it's a Monday night, and we're going to take a look back at a show. I call this The Missing Show. It was the only show from the year 1977 that I never heard. I wrote a book, Grateful Dead 77, The Rise of Terrapin Nation. I took a deep dive into all the shows and the history leading up to it. But there was one show missing, and it was this one, October 6th, 77, Arizona State University, Tempe. This was in the Activity Center. And on that night, there was a lot of psychedelic activity, but this was the one tape I was missing, and finally I got a hold of it. Before we dig into this particular show, I just want to mention next week, Doug Schmel back on the podcast. We're going to dig into a 1974 classic, the epic performance from July 31st, 1974 by the Grateful Dead in Dillon Stadium. And I'm going to come out with that episode on Jerry's birthday the following day. And yeah, that's an enormous show. I can't wait to listen to that a bunch of times and speak to Doug and hear his enthusiastic take on that show. And also, once I finish up with this 77 show, I'm going to do a little segment, the 5 songs. Actually, it's 6. It started off as 5, but I couldn't hold one out. The 6 songs that Jerry would have covered if he were alive from the Dylan material that Bob came out with after Jerry passed. Interesting little topic. Kevin McGinnis suggested it to me. It's something I've thought about. People have asked me about. Finally, I got to it, sat down, and came up with 6 songs, the top 6 songs Jerry would have covered from Dylan's recent day material. And here we go, man. How exciting is it to get a tape you never heard before from a major year like 1977? So my first download of this October 6th, 77 show was way before I wrote my Grateful Dead 77 book. And I listened to it. Sounded familiar. Then I got to The Music Never Stopped. And I knew that the tape was an imposter because The Music Never Stopped, note for note, was the version from Portland on October 2nd, 77. And then I went online to make sure, to find out what this was. And other people recognized that too. The download that used to be available was an imposter. The Jack Straw was from Decal, et cetera, et cetera. So it was put together because the tape didn't exist. But I took a look, and re-listen app, one of the most amazing. It is the greatest app in the world. Just the ninth wonder of the world, the re-listen app, man. It makes my life so much easier for listening to these shows and finding them, and everything is there. So I checked back. And lo and behold, the October 6th, 70 show found its way, the real one, found its way into the Grateful Dead archive. It's a composite. It's mostly soundboard. I'd say 98% soundboard, a couple of cutouts where the audience tape comes in. So there was actually 2 existing recordings, but they weren't out there in circulation 2014, 2015. I think just a couple of years ago was the first time they kind of hit the scene. So when I listened to this, I started about a week ago. First time I ever heard it. So incredibly exciting to get a new 77 show out of nowhere that you weren't even thinking about. So on that night, they're playing another college campus. That was like the Grateful Dead stronghold of 1977, conquer the hearts and minds of a new generation. And they really did an amazing job on these campus shows on the East Coast, West Coast. But it was definitely part of their routine to play these campuses. So they open up. This was, I think, they played Portland October 1st, October 2nd. So they had a couple nights off. I don't think there was a show between those dates. So October 6th, for the Sun Devils of Arizona State University. Promised Land opens up, and you can tell right away Jerry's got it going. His guitar solo at the end, pretty hot for Promised Land, especially to open the show, so things are off to a good start. And this is a 9-song first set. I break it up into 3 segments of 3. It's almost like 3 movements. And the first 3 songs here are pretty incredible. The Dead go for an early Tennessee Jed. Really nice to hear in the second spot. Pretty unusual, especially this time period to hear Jed that early. But Jerry's just, he's on fire. You could hear it in the licks between what he's singing. Just had a little extra pop to it. And even the jam comes out smoking for like the second song of the night. So let's go to an early audio highlight here and hear that Tennessee Jed second song from Tempe. There you go, an early Jed from Tennessee in the 2-hole. And man, what a treat it is to hear a 77 show I never heard before. I'm sure some of you out there have probably got a hold of this, but I'm sure there's also a lot of people that haven't heard it because, once again, thanks to Charlie Miller, I believe it was first uploaded to the archives in 2023. And I just discovered this about a week or two ago. So, yeah, awesome stuff. Great Jed, second, getting the crowd psyched. And then Jack Straw, number 3 in the first set here. And two real standout points of this Jack Straw. And you got to listen to this whole show because there's like really some amazing stuff here. I didn't prepare a highlight from the Straw, but as I was listening to it before, I was like, damn, I should have did a little highlight from the Straw because the opening instrumental is longer than usual for 77. They put a little extra effort into the opening instrumental, typically good second instrumental. But one standout thing, which you hear on this song and also in the Tennessee Jed, Jerry is just so into it vocally. and almost like Weir's a little subdued, or there might be an issue with his mic. But when they come back to the Jack Straw part, it's like Garcia is the lead singer, the dominant singer there, and it's pretty cool the way he sings this. He definitely growls it out. So hot Jack Straw on the heels of Tennessee Jed, slipping into old Weird America. They keep that going, the theme going with Dire Wolf, but now we're moving into a different 3-song section of the show. The show definitely kind of plateaus and mellows out a little bit here. Pretty good Dire Wolf. Looks Like Rain follows, number 5 spot, and then They Love Each Other 6th. And usually I'd be a little more excited about They Love Each Other, but this is a 1977 version, not as hot as it would be when Brent joins the band. Obviously not as hot as it was back in 73 when they had that real snappy, upbeat Love Each Other, but still pretty good. I mean, the first Love Each Other I listened to was Englishtown 77, so I adore that version. These versions are good, but probably not as good as what preceded it and what was to come as far as Love Each Other. But we definitely hit like a little bit of a lull after a very exciting start with this 3-song Dire Wolf, Looks Like Rain, Love Each Other. And then we're going into the last tier of the first set here. The next 3 songs, Weir shakes the audience, wakes them up, gets everybody back into it with a very hot Minglewood. The band is just hitting. This is a 77 Minglewood. Just the way they're playing. The band is just thunderous at this point in October of 77. Englishtown through the end of the year and throughout a lot of 78, the band was just monstrous, man. They were just playing as hard and as rocking as they could. More set creativity and overall creativity earlier in the year in May, but the thunder and power what they were playing at this point of the year is like unheralded in the band's history. Before or after. And great Minglewood in the 7th spot. Nice Loser. Once again, the thing that kind of stands out here, Jerry vocally is very into it on this night. Really great singing, substantial Loser jam. And at this point, you got one more song left. You might not think it's a great first set, but my God, this set ender, just crazy. Hot music never stopped. I heard this about 5-6 times since. Unbelievable. One of the best ever. Now, here's the weird twist on that. It's the 3rd best of this week. One of the best Music Never Stops ever, but the 3rd best of this week. For in this week, you have the great Music Never Stopped from October 2nd in Portland and October 9th in Denver. This one is risen on my list. I think this is the 2nd greatest Music Never Stopped ever from Denver on October 9th. So you got 2 spectacular versions, and right in the middle, it makes sense that it would happen like this, that this is another all-time great version, but just a slight touch under these other 2 versions. I'm going to play this as one of the audio highlights, and when you hear this, if you're not familiar with the other 2, you wouldn't even understand how anything could be hotter than this. It's like that great. So adding another Music Never Stopped into our collective consciousness is a brilliant thing, man. It's such awesome that we're able to hear this tape from Tempe on October 6th. So there's 2 great weeks for Music Never Stopped in 77 where they just play all-time great versions. May 5th, it starts in New Haven. Awesome Music Never Stopped. Easily the best one that the Grateful Dead ever played. You could cross that out because 2 nights later, Boston Music Hall, they topped New Haven. And you could hear it clearly a little bit better, as if they knew they had to go a little extra mile to beat the one the night before. Or it was at their last show. And then, in my opinion, the greatest Music Never Stopped ever from Buffalo on May 9th, where they took it another notch above where Boston is. So scratch Boston out as the greatest version ever. It's now Buffalo. And man, that Buffalo is incredible. So you got 3 great musics in that week, and this week is right up there with it. Equal footing. The Music Never Stops are incredible. And after that big build up, let's jump into it.
We'll be back in just a few minutes.
That, my friends, is pure lunacy. I'm sitting here listening to this on the computer, kind of low. It's 11 o'clock at night. Wow, man! A lot of times when I do these audio highlights, I know them note for note. I enjoy listening to them, but this one I'm still trying to get a hold of, get a grip, kind of understand what's going on, and it's still a surprise to me when I hear it how good it is. Incredible music, never stopped, and just the Grateful Dead in this October '77 period, they were just pounding out music like as hard as they could. This is like an unusual kind of step up. Everything's so intense and playing as fast and as furious as they can. Awesome music, never stopped. And the first set, they did a couple of announcements after the first set. I think there was a Billy Joel show that they were talking about, and Boss Skaggs. And then they mentioned that there was a Bob Weir show, and of course the place went nuts. But there's a second set to go. There's some between set announcements there, and they open up "Birth of Good Lovin'." And hey, that's the most typical opener you could have for 1977. But as I'm listening to this tape, I'm just kind of in awe. It's a perfect opener, especially on a college campus. You want to impress the people, get everybody involved, and there's something about this "Birth of Good Lovin'." I absolutely loved hearing it. Garcia's jamming great, and the band was definitely a little more on. And the first set was awesome, a lot of highlights there. But the second set, it's just consistent. They're really on their game for the second set. So the "Birth of Good Lovin'" is incredible. Especially the "Good Lovin'." I usually don't take time to praise a "Good Lovin'," but just Garcia's licks and the intensity the band's playing with, it was just a continuation of that. We're going to conquer and plunder, and they were just monsters at the end of '77, the Grateful Dead. So "Birth of Good Lovin' to open. And you think they're going to cool things down with a little "Friend of the Devil," which the '77 Devils were pretty mellow. But for the Sun Devils of Arizona State, Jerry took it an extra round. This is the best "Friend of the Devil" from 1977. In '77, it was they started introducing like that slow version of Devil, and I love it. And I think it got better as they went to '78. Then when Brent joined the band, I think it hit like its perfect kind of peak. So '77 wasn't quite the best year for "Friend of the Devil." They played it a lot, though. It was anyway. Enough of that. This "Friend of the Devil" is nuts. Garcia goes a couple of rounds on it. Easily the best one of '77. So let's check it out.
First one say she got my child, but it don't look like me. Out running, but I'll take my time. Friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, I think this is the most fun I've ever had listening to playbacks while I was doing a podcast. I'm just like completely blown away. I've been listening to this stuff in my car, turning it up loud, but listening to it quietly on my computer here tonight, man, I'm just awesome, man. So great to have a 77 show we never heard before. Incredible Friend of the Devil. Obviously, Jerry just shredded that like no other devil from that time period. And even you could even hear it in his singing at the end there. He's just great night for Mr. Garcia. And so Bertha Goodlove and Friend of the Devil. And in 77, the Dead really stuck to trying to do as many originals as they could. They just had Wake of the Flood and Terrapin Station, and had just come out about 2 months before this was. I forget the exact release date, but Terrapin had it came out around the time of Englishtown. So Terrapin Station is out. All these, the Scarlet Mars Hotel, all these great new songs that they had worked into their repertoire. It's probably more awesome Grateful Dead originals in their repertoire at this point than any other point in their career. So we're moving on to another great pair of Dead originals, recent originals, Estimated Prophet. And this version, like pretty much any version from 77, which means it's impressive as hell. Hard to pick them apart. The Estimated has that beautiful, concise solo between verses, and then the part where Jerry is just in Mutron heaven, just wailing away. At the end on the outro. I think this one might be a little bit longer than some of the others, but any Estimated from 77 has that same kind of weight to it. They're all equally pretty much good. So you got the Estimated, and they go into Eyes of the World after this. And this is another top version for the year 77, which was very strong in Eyes. So good opening solo. And the first coming up is another audio highlight. This first instrumental from the Eyes is just unreal what Jerry does here. And I like to call this the Garcia plays possum motif, where he'll jam out a very sufficient instrumental. Jerry and the band are back at the point where they're ready to sing, and Garcia comes up with this idea to extend it when you've already committed to ending it. And him and the band, they pull this off perfectly. It's not easy to end an instrumental, be at the point where you're ready to sing. Then all of a sudden Garcia says, hey, I have a few more ideas, and to try to build it back to where it was and hit another peak. But Garcia could do this effortlessly, and the band at this point, 1977, they were right with him. So they did it just as clean as he did it. Incredible stuff. So you'll see. You'll be listening to this, and the words "There comes a Redeemer" will be coming out of your mouth. You'll be singing, and that's when Garcia says, "Wait a minute, I'm going to make some real history here. I'm going to make a highlight for a future Deadology podcast." Yeah, this is vintage 1977. Just certain songs on this tape are incredible. I'm listening back to it just kind of in awe because I'm still in the honeymoon stage where I don't know every note for note how the songs go and the jams go on this, so it's just so impressive. Yeah, my recommendation: download this, go to re-listen wherever you get your Grateful Dead downloads. Awesome show. So second instrumental on this is equally impressive. Unfortunately, one thing with this tape, why it will never be an official release, you got the soundboard cutouts, and there's an audience recording that's patched in, and it's not a good audience recording, so it's a little bit cringeworthy when it happens, and it happens in the second jam of the size. But the good thing is you get the full story. It's better to have a poor audience, kind of patched in than not hearing it at all. So at least you know what happened. You have a historical document you could enjoy. The song is full. You're not questioning, wow, what did Garcia do after this? You could hear it out. But it's really not too long. It's pretty brief on this, but it's definitely a little cringeworthy and happens during the second instrumental here. There's even a nice outro for the size, so definitely one of the better versions. Not in, I'd say it's probably about 4 or 5 better, but yeah, that's still pretty impressive to be that good for a 77 Eyes. Just blown away, loving this show, man. So we got the drums come up after Eyes of the World, and then they break into Not Fade Away, pretty common song for 77, but I mean it was a beast in 77. Versions from Cornell, Englishtown, there's one from the Winterland, which is incredible, in March of 77. So many just big versions where it's like 15, 16, 17 minutes long. So Not Fade Away was just a over-the-top kind of song, taking a simple song and just getting everything you can out of it. Maybe that's why I kind of went into cookie-cutter mode as we went into the 80s, where they just didn't jam out on it as much. But this version, it's a breakaway Harlem Globetrotter kind of. It's some of the other versions are a little more methodical. This one they just take off, and pretty original for the jamming in this Not Fade Away goes for about 12 minutes before it breaks into another tune. But it's a really solid 12 minutes. Kind of unusual for something that has like a really quick flow to it, a couple different phases. So I can't even wrap my head around it right now. I've only heard the tape, 4 or 5 times, but awesome, Not Fade Away. And then they break into Black Peter. So obviously we're going to take a nice slow run with Jerry. It's a beautiful Peter. And at the end, they got a little outro jam going, and it's not like a normal Black Peter. And you can tell they're segueing into something different. They bring it back into Not Fade Away. And I believe this is the only time they ever did it. Not Fade Away, Black Peter, Not Fade Away. A hot, romping end to the Not Fade Away. A very unusual jam between Peter and Fade Away. So really nice work there. Creative. Just killing it for the crowd in Tempe, Arizona State Activity Center. So after the Not Fade Away, they hop into Around and Around. You almost think the show's going to be over here, but they give you one of those big overproductions of Around and Around, and it's nice. What's the word I'm looking for? Synchronicity, something like that. So they open up with a Chuck Berry tune, Promised Land, and they end with Around and Around, another Chuck Berry tune. So a nice circular song selection there, show, starting with Chuck and ending with Chuck. And yeah, it's a typically powerful Around and Around, but just hearing it coming out of that Black Peter, Not Fade Away, Around and Around combination, really cool, very unique. And that's going to be the outro to the episode tonight, so hang in for that. That will be the final. We'll play those 3 tunes for you. And yes, there is an encore. And what an encore it is, man. Uncle John's Band. They did this a few times as an encore in 77. I'm not looking at any stats. I guess probably 5-6 times. And there's some this I think this is the best Uncle John's encore. Absolutely smoking. The singing, and sometimes in the encore they might go through Uncle John's a little quicker because it's an encore. Not this version. I mean, they dig in. They're pumped up at this point. So every time I hear this show, I think it keeps growing in stature. It really is a pretty powerful 77 show. We're not going to call it a Colgate or a Binghamton or a Cornell or a Winterland from June or Englishtown or something, but pretty close. This is pretty tremendous. I'm so glad we got thanks to Charlie Miller and whoever originally taped these shows and wherever the soundboard came from. It's magic. This is all kind of a miracle that we get, that this show just appears, the one missing show, it's not missing anymore. And what awesome Uncle John's band. Once I probably would have done a highlight from that, but once again with this on this particular tune, you got some of that cutting in and cutting out. So that's the Tempe, Arizona show. Definitely check out the whole thing. And right now we're going to move into the what's Dylan songs Jerry would have played if he were still alive. And we got 6 good ones for you. And thanks to Kevin McGinnis, sent me an email and mentioned I should do something like this for the show. And I didn't see it as a whole podcast, especially because I'm not playing the Dylan songs. I don't know how well that would, if there would be any restrictions on that. But someone told me I should write a book about it. And I've thought about it, but I never really sat down and said what songs would he played and really considered his latest albums. And I think Jerry, more than the lyrics, I mean, anybody who's playing a Dylan song realizes he's the lyrical genius, and that's like a given that you're doing a Dylan song. But all these songs have great lyrics. I think the songs that Jerry really liked are the ones with the good melodies. Didn't have to have the most lyrics, the most complex lyrics. He just would hear something. And Dylan's, I mean, he's a great composer, the arranger of these songs. Even if it's simple chords, he puts them together in a way it works. He's, the simplest of songs, Knock on Heaven's Door, he put it together. It's, he wrote the lyrics, put the simple G, A minor, and put the simple chord progression together. And, but it works. It's brilliant. Everybody who's anybody plays Knock on Heaven's Door. And I think Garcia really loved, besides the lyrics, the musicianship. So he looked for that certain something. Like in one of my favorites, one from Planet Waves. I know the song so well I can't even get the Tough Mama. There we go. One of my favorite Garcia songs, and and I think Garcia just really dug into the song itself as well as the lyrics. It's two-handed thing. Like Weir enjoyed the longer lyrics. He liked playing Desolation Row and. But I think Garcia really looked into the song as a totality, not just the lyrics. I mean, you hear that in Senor. He would catch the thing that you wouldn't catch in a Dylan song, or even Dylan himself might have missed, and kind of drag that out. I'm going to try and keep that in mind as I go through the songs I think Dylan would have loved to cover. Let's start with "Time Out of Mind," 1996. Dylan with his big comeback. He was sick and. Almost around the same time Jerry was, but he came out of the hospital. Everything went right. He came out with "Time Out of Mind." They got to recording the songs, and Garcia would have flipped out over this album. This is Dylan later in his career is almost playing at the same pace. Dylan was very quick earlier in his career. He definitely slowed down into a more mature sound in the later part of his career, and these songs, the tempo and everything, Garcia would have loved it. So "Time Out of Mind," obviously there's a bunch of different ones. One I hear right away, which almost sounds like a Jerry Garcia band, is "Standing in the Doorway," tailor-made for the Garcia band. But I think there's one undeniably which would be the best pick from this album that Garcia would have covered, and that's "Trying to Get to Heaven." that has everything. It has the mortality, the going down the road feeling bad. Yeah, he sings in there. Obviously, Garcia would have loved to sing that, and the travels in the song, the brilliant lyrics, the space of the music, perfect for a couple of Garcia. This would have been perfect for Jerry. He would have loved, trying to get to heaven before they close the door. It's such a shame. It is one of the things you think. What with Jerry passing, there's so much you can't know what he would have came up with originally, but you do know he would have played some Dylan songs, and that's something we could enjoy and think about. Going to his next album from 2001, Love and Theft. And there's so many great songs on there. Just Mississippi. How do you beat a song like Mississippi? That's maybe the best song of the album. The Tweedledee, I love all that stuff. But once again, I'm going to put myself in Jerry's mind. What's he going to pick from this album? And it struck me, I thought it's such a Garcia band song. And especially John Conn would have loved the song too, because of the jazzy, swingy feel of it, By and By. Definitely a favorite of mine. I think it's definitely an overlooked Dylan tune, great lyrics, but it's got that, kind of swinging, jazzy beat from the 50s, and really an old-time jazz band groove, nice and simple. And Dylan's band killed it. I seen this live in, I think it was 2001. I saw it a bunch of times live. Larry Campbell, Charlie Sexton, Gagne on bass. They just had so much fun with this song. They took it from about 4 minutes to about 6 minutes. Garcia would have been all over By and By. Him and Conn would have got lost in this thing for 12 minutes. Perfect vehicle for a long Conn bass solo. Jerry goes smokes a little bit of a cigarette, comes back and just blows you away with swinging jazz. And the lyrics, By and By, I'm breathing a lover's sigh. I'm scuffling, I'm shuffling, I'm walking on briars. I'm not even acquainted with my own desires. I mean, just Garcia would eat that song up. But who the hell knows, man? He would any of these songs from this period you could believe that he would do. So moving on to another great album, 2006, might have been 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. Modern Times, favorite album of mine. Once again, there's a lot that Garcia really could have dug on that. I think that this song, for some reason, whenever I heard this song, I would think of the Jerry Garcia band, When the Deal Goes Down. It sounds like Garcia could have stepped into that studio and sang the lead. It sounds like he could have just picked up a guitar and been in the studio. I just so hear Garcia when I hear When the Deal Goes Down. It's kind of like standing in the doorway, but I just think this fit like a glove, as Dylan says in the opening number, Thunder on the Mountain. And I think there's different songs that the Grateful Dead, like Thunder on the Mountain, could have been a good Grateful Dead song. Phil played it with his band, and just so much here to love. But When the Deal Goes Down, I just think Jerry would have really dug those lyrics, and the song was almost like a fit right out of the box. Almost kind of in a way like Forever Young, Garcia was easily fit into that, even though he slowed it down a bit. But I think that song was just like tailor-made. It almost feels to me when I hear that like Dylan had Jerry on his mind. That always struck me every time I heard that song. So that was an easy pick for me from Modern Times. And then moving along, let's go to Together Through Life, 2009. That album came out. I think it's when kind of like a bird flu scare hit New York City. There was always some kind of tragedy, or every time a Dylan album came out, obviously 9/11 was Love and Theft. And I definitely remember Together Through Life, there was a big fear that bird flu was about to, do what COVID eventually would do. But it turned out just to be a scare. So Together Through Life, I still remember time and place, being in New York City, coming out of the subways, listening to that. Very good album. We loved that right away. Probably not as big as Love or Theft or Modern Times or Time Out of Mind, but still kind of a great and maybe overlooked Dylan album. A lot of cool songs on there. Once again, a lot of these are in Garcia's wheelhouse, but I think without a doubt there's one that just screams Jerry, and that's This Dream of You. I think it was the sixth song of the album. Just a beautiful song. It's got like a little Spanish flavor. Best lyrics. Dylan's delivery. Check out. There's a moment when all things become new again, but that moment might have come and gone. Or I'll run this race until my earthly death. I'll defend this place with my dying breath. And just brilliant song. Somehow in this album and in this group of songs, I don't know if it's revered as a Dylan masterpiece, but it is. And I just know Garcia would have loved the mood of the song. Like he loved Senor. This, in a weird way, has that moody, surreal feel that Senor has. And I think Dylan would have been all over this. And right on that theme of like moody, surreal. I'm just thinking this because the next song that I have in mind fits that exact category even more so. From Tempest, I think Dylan would have Jerry would have actually been drawn to Scarlet Town without a doubt. Once again, the lyrics, the cool guitar riffs on that. Scarlet Town, where I was born, and just an old folky kind of original weird tune, and that's one of my favorites from that album. That and early Roman Kings, but I think Scarlet Town. Jerry could have played it electric, but that would have more been like something he might have recorded for an album or did on an acoustic tour. Scarlet Town, man. I'm sure it would have been one of the thrills of Jerry's life to do it on stage with Dylan. It's too bad they never got together towards the end of their career. Well, I guess it was never meant to be. Jerry was getting sick pretty rapidly at the end. But man, to see Garcia and Dylan just relaxed playing an acoustic tour together as opposed to the big Dead Dylan shows, which I enjoyed, but we never got that real intimate Garcia Dylan kind of thing, which that would have been amazing to see those two. But they were both too big for that to happen. It was just, where are they going to play? The place would just be mobbed. Forget about it. But we did see some cool stuff back in the day, man. Garcia band in small places and Dylan in small places. Life has been good. And I thought of one more song that Jerry absolutely would have adored, and that's Girl from the Red River Shore. It's from the bootleg album. I think it's Volume 8. It was recorded for Time Out of Mind. I don't know. Sometimes you see these songs slip through the cracks, and you say, how did this not make an album? Either Love or Theft or Time Out of Mind. But it's one of my favorite. If you've taken the second half of Dylan's career, top 10 easily for me. That's how strong I feel about the song. I know it's taken from an old school folk tune. The composition was kind of borrowed, and also was borrowed by Dolly Parton and Randy Van Warmer. He had a number one hit with this in 1979. It was called "Just When I Needed You Most," or something like that. I think Dolly Parton originally wrote the song, and they did it based off the same tune, folk tune that Dylan took it from. It's interesting if you listen to the Randy Van, I think Van Warmer or something like that. He had a number one hit, "Just When I Needed You Most." It's the exact same composition arrangement as Girl from the Red River Shore if you listen to them back to back. But obviously Dylan's version is like pretty cool, much different animal, but same, taken from the same old folk tune. Garcia would have been all over that, man. That's another one with like these nice and slow, but the lyrics are cutting deep, and all the yearning and for the girl that he adores that I'll never get from the Red River Shore. Right in Jerry's wheelhouse, man. He would have loved it. So it is weird that's one of the things people have asked me about. Kevin McGinnis, thanks for sending me the email. And it's just one of the things you think about when you hear Dylan's second half career. It really would have fit some of these songs would have fit Garcia so well, and you can't help but think of Jerry. And Jerry is probably on Dylan's mind, and when he was recording some of these songs. So pretty cool stuff. And next week, That wraps up this week, season 3, episode 13. Next week, Doug Schmel's back. We're going to have a good time. This is going to be a quick turnaround. We're going to get that out on Jerry's birthday, August 1st. Dillon Stadium, July 31st, 1974. Epic, epic, epic. So everybody, thanks for listening. My website, Catfish Garcia. That's not my website. My website is tangledupintunes.com. Email catfishgarcia82@yahoo.com. Hang in for the ending to the Tempe show, a little Black Peter, and To Not Fade Away, Around and Around. Peace out. Speak to you next week.
Yes, the place is packed.